Welcome to this video. As I mentioned in the introduction, the development of the Sustainable Teams coaching methodology started from an observation. Teams need new integrated and pragmatic tools to manage the complexity of their current work environment and to develop and maintain effective teamwork in the long term. These new coaching approaches have become necessary because teams today evolve in a context that is increasingly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, and we use the acronym VUCA to express that complexity. In fact, organizations themselves behave as complex systems. If we make an analogy with living systems, we can compare the organization to the organism as a whole, and the proper function of the organism relies on the good health of each of the constituents that are part of the organization. You can compare the departments, team, and individuals to the individual cells and organs that, once put together, can collectively form the organization. This visual represents the team as a cell surrounded by a membrane and whose main challenge is to constantly manage the two-way interactions with the environment. There is a constant interaction with information flowing in and out and multiple factors that are all interconnected and interdependent. The same logic applies to the people involved both within and outside the team, who are also interconnected and interdependent. You quickly realize that it is impossible to control such a complex system, and it explains why the old and traditional hierarchical management methods are gradually being replaced by new organizational models that are more distributed, systemic, and participative. For the same reasons, we observe that project management is no longer done in a sequential and linear way, and we are shifting to a more agile methodology adapted to a more circular and iterative mode of operation. A question I often get on this is, how can we succeed in making teams more sustainable when we are at the same time asked to be increasingly agile and reactive to face the rapid changes in our environment? In fact, a sustainable team will put in place a series of practices that will allow it to make what we call conscious choices in the present. And its decisions and actions will consider the need for agility in the short term and will be mindful of their impact in terms of sustainability in the long term. To do that, sustainable teams use the 18 drivers to reduce complexity and help them make informed decisions on how to best move forward and align their short-term and long-term goals. And this is precisely what characterizes and differentiates sustainable teams. It is their ability to pivot permanently in the present, to adapt quickly to changes in their environment, while avoiding making decisions that are too much focused on the short term and may turn out to be counterproductive in the long run. Here are 3 main points to remember about sustainable teams. Sustainable teams act in the long term in line with their intentions and core values. Sustainable teams consciously choose to co-create value with their stakeholders and their entire ecosystem. Sustainable teams are always aware of the long-term impact of their choices on the health and performance of the organization. In the next chapters, we'll look at what you can do to implement these practices in your organization and transform your teams into sustainable teams. But before that, I'd like to talk about the main concepts that inspired this work and that are at the core of the Sustainable Teams methodology.